It's time for Michigan's newest sports talk show, Mitten Madness.
And here he goes. Defense win championship.
Michigan sports talk from here in Battle Creek. The latest stories, the biggest games, all across the Mitten State.
That's not something to play with.
Streaming live and on demand on the 95.3 WBCK app. Here are your hosts, Jacob Harrison and Da'Jzon Hughes.
Hello there and good morning. It's Mitten Madness on 95.3 WBCK. Jacob Harrison and Da'Jzon Hughes set to talk Michigan sports for the next hour. We get to start off with some really good news that I know DJ is excited about. Before we get into that and also some Lions talk, we'll catch up on the Pistons and Red Wings and make our picks at the end of the show. DJ, outside of our first topic of the show, how's it going?
Actually, I'm going pretty well. I won 2 of my 4 fantasy leagues this weekend. Michigan didn't have a chance to ruin my weekend thanks to the bye week. And the Packers beat the Bears off of a fingertip because all it ever takes is the tip. So I'm very happy with how sports went this weekend. The Pistons are doing well again. I'm living in paradise, really. Thanksgiving is basically here. I could jump off a roof.
And land on your feet.
Yes.
Because after the Steelers got embarrassed in the snow of Cleveland, I could jump off of that same roof, but I don't know if I'm intentionally landing on my feet. Sky's falling in Pittsburgh. It's not the end of the world. I don't know. I'm with you. I'm just looking forward to the holiday, get a little bit of extra days off. And enjoy some time with the family. And until then, just continue to see what's going on in the sports world and enjoying everything it's offering to us. We've got incredible parity in college football. The NFL is topsy-turvy. The Detroit Lions are probably the best team in the NFL, and then it's a whole bunch of who's up next from there. Everything's getting extremely exciting. Let's get into the most exciting thing that Michigan fans have heard since winning the national championship for last year. That is that there is a quarterback coming to Ann Arbor who is the number 1 prospect, period. Not just the number 1 quarterback, the number 1 prospect, period. Bryce Underwood, who flipped his commitment from LSU to Michigan on Thursday night. 6'4", 210 pounds from, you're going to have to help me with the name of that city. Belleville. Okay, I was overthinking it. Here in Michigan, top pocket passer in the class, still brings so much to wherever it is that he's heading. Of course, when a guy flips, you start to say, well, that doesn't mean that he's not going to flip again. We still got a long time until he signs a national letter of intent. But nonetheless, right now, Bryce Underwood committed to play quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines. And if you look at the 2024 squad, that's the one thing that they don't have. And that is a big reason why they have struggled so mightily this season in defense of that title.
I want you to put a message out to the people. That we back up.
We back up.
We back up. Oh, I couldn't be happier. Shout out to Dave Portnoy, the best Michigan alumni that's out there. Probably not true, but at this point, he's raising the ranks at this point. I mean, hey, when you're dropping cash like this, I know.
All the medical people.
Derek Jeter. Trust me, there's a lot of people there that I could throw up, but I mean, hey, are they helping us secure a quarterback right now to make sure that we stay competitive?
True.
Are they giving us awesome content on the internet all the time? Are they ranking pizza shops off of how good and bad they are? No, Dave Portnoy is. We love Dave Portnoy around here. We're Barstool fans. And it's going to go, I'm going to be insufferable if Bryce Underwood actually signs a letter of intent to the University of Michigan. You cannot tell me that we will not win another championship within the next 3 years. You cannot tell me he's not going to win a Heisman within the next 3 years. That kid is insane. And like you said, he is kind of the missing piece. Sure, there's some other things that we could use some upgrades on, but when you bring in the number 1 player in the country, there tends to be some talent that follows behind that.
That is a huge factor. And my best friend is an LSU fan, and we were all in the same group chat reacting to this, and that was one of the first things that he brought up is like, well, you lose Bryce Underwood, you lose other players. That doesn't mean everybody that's committed to LSU or even any of the receivers that are committed to LSU are going to follow Bryce Underwood to Michigan, but that means they might not hang around LSU. And that opens the door up for other people who are other receivers, other offensive linemen, other talents that want to play with Bryce Underwood. Because this is the thing. If you don't follow recruiting that closely, you don't have to follow it that closely to understand that top flight recruits follow the best quarterbacks, because that's your best opportunity to also win and to get that notoriety on you. When media and scout are tuning into these games to watch these quarterbacks, you're on the field, you get an opportunity to shine. So recruits understand that and they follow that path. So while a lot of people might look at Michigan and say, yeah, quarterback's not the only issue, they also don't have a lot of receivers. They still have to rebuild the depth and the talent on the offensive line, which is Sharon Moore's specialty. And defensively, you have to prove that you can reload after you lose some top 5 NFL talents on your defensive line and at cornerback. But Bryce Underwood he doesn't solve those issues. Certainly not. I mean, it's a lot of pressure to put on an 18-year-old or soon to be 18-year-old. But you've got to you take everything into account. And if you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you wake up this morning and the past 2 mornings, I guess, and you're excited. you're feeling like DJ is saying, oh, we can do X, Y, and Z. Now you have to go out there and you have to do that. This isn't the first, big time quarterback. He's not the only big time quarterback that's even on the roster. Right? Alex Orji had expectations. Your other guy from out in Detroit has expectations.
None of them the number 1 overall recruit in the country.
True. Okay, I'm gonna lay something out for you, DJ. Do you know who was the number 1 overall recruit in the class that involved Bryce Young and DJ Uiagalelei?
I do. I think he's still playing college football.
It was, some people went with Bryce, but more people went with DJ Uiagalelei, who is still in college football and not single-handedly, but played a huge part in Florida State being one of the worst Power 5 blue bloods ever in 2024.
Yeah, but
so being number 1 doesn't mean
but that was one
success.
of those. That was one of those situations of like we knew about both prospects and how good they could be, and there isn't really anybody being thrown in the conversation next to Bryce Underwood. Like it's
True.
Bryce Underwood.
True.
So like that, I think that carries some weight. And like I'm not saying he's going to come in and just like do it all by himself. There's definitely some pieces around him, but when you got a piece like that, and if you're able to scheme around it correctly, you're going to have success.
Yeah, and I don't say that as a don't be excited. Be excited. Bryce Underwood is a heck of a talent. DJ Uiagalelei had his times where he looked like the guy as well. It just hasn't panned out for him. And heck, Bryce Young was a Heisman winner. He's struggling in the NFL. Newsflash, football is hard, especially at the highest levels. So it's more of a just, hey, understand nothing is guaranteed just because you get one guy, but it certainly goes a long way into solving the issues, because if you are Michigan, I'll tell you this, what you don't want to do is go the route that LSU kind of has gone since their national championship win with their powerhouse team in 2019. They did the same thing Michigan is doing right now. They went 6-6 the following year. They fired their head coach, and it took some time to even get to the point where you could feel confident about Brian Kelly. And now Brian Kelly just lost out on the number 1 recruit in the country because he also can't get the job done. And now they're going to have to scramble again. Michigan really wants this Sharon Moore thing to work. You do not want to find yourself in a position where you're questioning him for such a period of time that you've got to restart again, and then you start getting into drought territory. College football is so tight right now. Like there is, as good as Georgia is, they lost 2 games this year, right? As good as a lot of these teams are, they're losing multiple games, and the college football playoff structure assists with that. But the parity in college football makes it even harder to live up to your expectations. And Sharon Moore has got a whale of expectations considering what he took over and how things have started. Bryce Bryce Underwood has to understand those expectations now fall on him, because once he is here, once he is in Ann Arbor and is wearing the winged helmet, it's on him at that point. He's going to have to be the guy that steps up and proves that he was worth being named the best recruit in the country, and also likely winning that job as a true freshman and going out and competing against the likes of Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and the rest of the Big Ten that even if they're hovering around bowl eligibility can beat you any given Saturday. It's something fans should be excited about, but trust me, even when he signs his name on that national letter of intent, nothing is set in stone, DJ.
You saying that because y'all be losing to people all the time with top talent. When we get top talent up here, we win.
Who's y'all?
So, Alabama, Georgia, the rest of y'all be losing to people.
I've watched my team win more national championships than anybody ever in your fan base.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you guys get top talent and still lose games. When we have had top talent, we didn't lose games.
What, last year?
Well, you say it like we've had a ton of top talent.
That's one time is all I'm saying.
We're 1 for 1. What do you want me to say?
You got me. I was over here defending your team in the group chat last night.
You should be. We haven't done nothing
wrong. And now you turning it on me.
I'm just saying.
Got the 50 Cent meme going on. What you mean, me?
We are more than optimistic because we have such a small sample size. Maybe that's what I'm getting at. Because our sample size of very good talent is so small
recently.
Just in general. Even back in the day, we weren't grabbing these astronomically like really good players. Michigan has always been like a 3.5, 4-star kind of place where they develop a little bit and then that's when you get really good. We've never really brought in a bunch of like 5 stars or like high 4-star talent and then converted it. So we have a small sample size. When we have had that in the past, 48, 97, 23, or I guess 24, you win championships.
We had 5-star prospects in 1947.
I mean, maybe. I don't know how they were ranking prospects back then, but I would imagine we had some of the top talent in the country because of it.
The star ratings are about 30 years old, man.
I know,
that's being generous.
I know.
All right, that's all we've got for this. Michigan State played last night. Michigan has I don't want to say a gimme, but Northwestern's not very good this year. So they've got a chance to become bowl eligible later today against Northwestern. You'll get that game, pregame stuff, get started at 2:30 here on WBCK. We'll take a break, and when we come back, it's time to talk about the Detroit Lions. The cake of their schedule continues to be as sweet as humanly possible. They're prepping to take on the Colts tomorrow, and we'll talk about it next here on Mitten Madness, 95.3 WBCK. Back here on Mitten Madness, 95.3 WBCK, Jacob Harrison and Da'Jzon Hughes. Let's talk about the best team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions, at 9-1 for the first time in Check's notes, 90 years, I think. I think it's actually 70 or whatever it is. It's been a long time. The Detroit Lions are really in the driver's seat of being the best team in the NFL. And, you know, one day after watching my team crap the bed against a team at the bottom of the NFL, the Detroit Lions don't let that kind of stuff happen. Because the Jacksonville Jaguars came into their house last week and the Lions proceeded to score touchdowns on their first 7 drives. And they finished with a 50-burger, winning 52-6 over the Jags. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence didn't play in that game. The Jags aren't very good anyway. Most people are wondering why in the world their head coach hasn't been fired yet, so they can get a jump start on not wasting Trevor Lawrence's career. Nonetheless, Jared Goff went out there. I think he only had 5 incompletions after throwing 5 picks the week before. And now we're on a 8-game winning streak for these Lions. It doesn't get that much more difficult this weekend. A trip down to Indianapolis to take on the Colts is what awaits them tomorrow at 1 p.m. That's a winnable game. The Bears are up after that. Bears are beatable. Packers are up after that. Packers are beatable, especially at home. I mean, this is setting up really to be, no exaggeration, the greatest season in Detroit Lions history, especially Super Bowl era history for this franchise. Because outside of the Packers, Bills, and Vikings, the Bears will challenge you, I'm sure, at least once. But how do you even rationalize not being over the moon about this team if you're a Lions fan? How do you bring yourself back down to earth when you look at the remainder of this schedule and also how this team has played through the first 10 weeks of the season? I don't think you can.
I say, what are we coming back down to earth for? Well, why?
Well, I just so you don't.
As a Packers fan, y'all live up there, and you want to call it delusion, you want to call it whatever you want to call it, live up there. Because you know who else lives up there? We do. and you know what? It's an amazing feeling. When you win football games and you're excited about your team, you live in this irrational world where you're going to win the Super Bowl until you don't. And I love that for Lions fans. They deserve to live in that delusional land of we are Super Bowl champs until someone actually proves we are not. And if you ask me, even the one team that beat them this year, probably going to win their division again. And they're not playing terrible football. They're just dealing with injuries. And they didn't really beat them. The Lions beat themselves.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, there isn't really anybody out here who's proved that the Lions can't be Super Bowl champs this year. So I think Lions fans should be riding this momentum because they are a big part of the success. The way the Lions fans have shown out, not only at home in Ford Field, but the Lions have the best traveling fan base right now in the NFL. They're literally
hard to disagree, but I acknowledge your point.
They are literally taking over stadiums. Every week.
There's a team from Western PA that's been doing that for 40 years.
Oh my God, we're not going to do this. I said right now.
I just disagree.
I said right now. Right now, there isn't like. Yes, we've seen the Steeler takeovers. We've seen the terrible towels
Packers
everywhere.
Do it too.
We do it too. But like right now, nobody's taking over stadiums like the Lions fans are. There are videos every road week of Lions fans being absolutely insufferable no matter where they are. In the airport, on the plane, in the stadium, walking through the downtowns of these cities. Like everywhere they go, Lions fans are insufferable, and I love it. I love it.
So expect a different shade of blue to take over Indianapolis Lucas Oil Stadium tomorrow is what you're saying. And you know what? Overall, I kind of agree with you. Both of us are fans of teams that have had a long history of success, but every week we come on and talk about a team that never has. And it's difficult to kind of put everything into perspective. Even last year, like I was trying to be optimistic, whereas you were like, hey, bump the brakes, never been here before. And now, and to be real, I've never been here either, to be the unquestioned, because I think a lot of people were out on the Chiefs a few weeks ago and just waiting for them to lose. The unquestioned best team in the NFL right now is easily the Detroit Lions. They've never been in that situation either. But I wholeheartedly agree with you. Like Lions fans, you should be in that boat where you're like, hey, we're Super Bowl champs, we're Super Bowl bound until we're not. Last year, it was so trepidatious, and the team itself was never trepidatious. Don't get me wrong, but like fans didn't really know how to feel. And man, I think you're right. I think that's exactly how fans should feel. The natural feeling or the natural want is to say, okay, you know, it can't be sunshine and rainbows forever. This is a hard league. You know, look at just what happened on Thursday Night Football. You can lose any time of the week. And hey, Thanksgiving is coming up, and that's the Lions bugaboo with all the history they have there. They still haven't been very successful, even with Dan Campbell as the head coach on Thanksgiving. So you don't want to get so high and mighty that you can't handle a loss if it comes, because going 16-1 in 2024 is absurd, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities either. And that's what's so crazy about these Lions. I mean, they don't have the superstar quarterback. Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't get the respect he deserves. Their best defensive player is on the shelf for the rest of the season.
Unless they make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, unless they make the Super Bowl. And even then, it's difficult. Heard a guy in line at Speedway the other day. He's like, hey, if you think about it, some of those UFC fighters that get those same injuries, it's tough to come back from that.
And I mean, not even just the injury, just even if he is 100% like healthy and ready to go, game shape is very different.
You're getting him on 5 or 6 third downs, man. That's really all you're getting out of him in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That could still be game changing though.
Absolutely. But it's not what you might expect if they were to say that he's active and ready to go. You got to ease back into those things.
But I mean, the way they respond to every adversity though.
Yeah.
I mean, Jared Goff throws 5 picks. Okay, we'll just go beat the Jags 52-6, and he'll throw maybe 5 incompletions in the entire game. You lose Aiden Hutchinson for the season. Okay, well, we'll go get Zadarius Smith, and we'll see if we can mitigate this issue. And oh, by the way, the week that we get Zadarius Smith and don't play him, the team goes out and gets 4 or 5 sacks. You know, they've found ways to overcome whatever issues they have faced this season. Again, you brought up the loss to the Bucs. Why'd they lose to the Bucs? Because Jared Goff threw the ball 54 times. And the Lions aren't built to do that. They've got great weapons. Goff is great, but they're built to run the football through a face. So, David Montgomery.
They're built to throw the ball too.
Yes.
Even
when
54
necessary.
times. Let's just be honest here. There were a couple bad throws, a couple dropped passes, and they win that game.
They didn't run the ball well in that game, and Jared Goff threw the ball 54 times. That's my point.
And they only lost by 4.
True.
So it's not like, and due to a couple bad passes and a couple dropped passes. So it's more so they beat themselves, and there isn't really, there isn't a way to beat the Lions because they're good at everything. You literally just have to go out there and outscore them.
Well, I mean, even the weakness,
which is so hard.
Even the weakness of the secondary, just because of the youth. Because I think the world is starting to recognize Brian Branch is one of the best defense players in the NFL. And Terry and Arnold is good. Enos Rakestraw is good. Everybody in that backfield is good. But the youth in that can be exploited at times. But when it all really counts, when it all really matters, Aaron Glenn's dudes are balling. And that's why you should have unwavering confidence in this team as the season progresses. I mean, I'll pose the question to you. Is there any team, NFC North or otherwise, that you think the Lions should be extra worried about? Even as good as the NFC North is, I still look at Minnesota and the way that they've been playing recently. I look at the way Green Bay has been playing recently. They both have great records, but neither of them is like, yeah, they're going to end the Lions season in the playoffs. Like, I don't. Am I drinking the Kool-Aid too much?
We're talking NFC wise?
Yeah, just NFC. Who's stopping the Lions from going to the Super Bowl?
Maybe the Eagles. They still have all the pieces to be very successful. They're the only team I see truly giving the Lions a problem out of the NFC. I think the Packers could if they're able to fix up a few things, but those are the only two I see truly pushing the bill.
But we're talking about going into Ford Field in the playoffs.
Yes,
because right now the Lions are the number 1 seed. They've got home field advantage.
Those are the only two that I can see.
I look at the Eagles,
and I say that because Matt LaFleur is a great coach. And he can set Jordan Love up to be in positions to just make 1 or 2 reads and make the right play. And then when you have an offense like the Eagles have, and then the energy that their fans and their defense brings, they could be a problem for anybody.
I look at the Eagles and I acknowledge that they're good, just short of great, but I don't see the same kind of team that went to and nearly won the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
That's fair.
I see a team that is clearly a tier below that. And with the Packers, there's that one element that is missing that's tough to put your finger on. And it isn't Jordan Love, because even when Jordan Love throws some inexplicable interception, he does just like his 2 predecessors did. And he comes back and he launches up some prayer of a pass that is somehow caught for a touchdown. And it happens with regularity. Jordan Love is very much cut from the same mold of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and that's what makes them dangerous. But there's still other aspects to the Packers.
They don't have a pass rush. That's the problem.
The pass rush is questionable. Trading Preston Smith to the Steelers was certainly a choice. I'm just saying, I don't mind it.
Obviously.
Oh boy, that was a choice.
That's the only thing y'all ever beaten. All right, no, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
I'm gonna chill.
Don't bring up Super Bowl 45. But I mean, it's a long season and there's still a number of games to go, but I'm looking at the Lions and I'm not saying they're unstoppable. I'm not saying, put all the money on them. There's a reason they have the best odds of reaching the Super Bowl and the best odds of winning the whole damn thing. And it's because they're that good. So, I don't know. Swim in it. Enjoy it. Take this Colts game coming at you tomorrow. Watch them win. Move on to the Bears for Thanksgiving. And sit around the table, stuff your face, and enjoy the show. because the Lions are a ton of fun. All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, got to catch up on the Pistons and the Red Wings here on Mitten Madness, 95.3 WBCK.
Detroit sports fans, Wolverines and Spartans alike, this is your sports show, Mitten Madness, with Jacob Harrison and Da'Jzon Hughes on 95.3 WBCK.
We're back here on Mitten Madness, 95.3 WBCK. Jacob Harrison and Da'Jzon Hughes. Got to catch up with what's going on with the Pistons and the Red Wings. We're going to get started with the Red Wings, who are coming off of a last-second win last night over the New York Islanders. 51 seconds left in the contest, and Lucas Raymond found the net, and that gave a victory to Detroit, who now has themselves at 8-9-2. That broke a 3-game losing streak this past week, which included an overtime loss to San Jose. Now you get into a little bit more beef in your schedule with the Bruins coming up later today, and you've also got another trip out to New York to take on the Islanders on Monday, Calgary on Wednesday. Detroit still at the bottom of the pack and coming out of that 3-game losing streak. ESPN put them down at number 26 in the power rankings, saying Thanksgiving themed power rankings. What should they be thankful for? And it's getting out of California after losing to Anaheim, Los Angeles, and San Jose. Yeah. can't oversell that one. But back here in the Mitten and picking up the win over the Islanders and looking for another one against the Bruins. DJ, your takeaways on recent play here from the Red Wings.
It's a struggling season. It's struggling. It is a long season still, and they are still hovering around 500. They just need to catch fire. It seems like they can't group together the wins the way they can the losses. There's a lot more losing streaks than there are win streaks. And that's a big deal right now. But I think the bigger thing is, they did pick up another overtime loss, so that's not terrible. You do get a point there, but you just gotta try and find that boost, something that's going to really ignite the fire in your team, like we saw at the end of last season where they made that push for the playoffs. You could see there was some real fight and fire inside of them in their locker room that just doesn't seem to be there early season.
Yeah, we'll continue to see what transpires here for the Red Wings, see if they can get things turned around in a reasonable amount of time. It's a long season. And plenty of opportunities here to get right, especially within the Atlantic Division of the Eastern Conference. Okay, the Detroit Pistons, not quite as lucky last night. They fell to the Charlotte Hornets. Brandon Miller put up 38 points, and LaMelo Ball put up 35 as well. So the Hornets are kind of finding some stride down there, and overtime loss here for the Pistons, 123-121. Cade Cunningham did have to leave the game. That certainly doesn't help. But even at 7-10, we were talking before the show about how you've already got half as many wins as you had last year, well on pace to double your win total, which is the bar that we set for the Pistons here on the show. But you're also keeping pace with other teams around you. Indiana's 6-9. Chicago is 6-10. I know you just dropped a game to them. Milwaukee's surging, and they're going to do, Milwaukee things as the season progresses. And Cleveland's still one of the best teams in the league. But Detroit, 2-game losing streak now against the Bulls and the Hornets, two teams that you should be able to beat. And now you've got the Magic on the road here later today. And also Toronto on Monday, at Memphis on Wednesday. Your takeaways on what's going on with the Pistons here?
I think they're in a great position right now. They're playing, and then they're excited to be out there. They're winning games. They're being competitive in games. That is the big thing to me, is these games are competitive. You got one 20-point loss to the Wizards, which is weird. First off, that is a weird L. But you beat the Heat by 2. You lose to the Bucks by 7. You lose to the Bulls by 10. You beat the Lakers by 12. You beat the Nets by 14. You beat the 76ers by 10. You got absolutely blown out by the Knicks, which you don't want to look at. But you have 2 blowouts in the early season in 17 games. 2. Everything else is a close game. Whether you won it or lost it, that is where the focus needs to be for the Detroit Pistons, is the fact that they are competitive, which means they can compete with any team in the league and that they can go out and win any game at any time. It just depends on how well they want to be. They're technically second in the conference right now, or in the division, behind Cleveland, who has been absolutely fantastic to start the year at 16-1. You're 7-10. You're only the second team in the Central Division to get to 7 games. You've done a great job at starting the season with good pace, good energy. You just want to hope that Cade Cunningham is not too hurt, and that this fall was just a precautionary thing to keep him out because there was pain and swelling and stuff that day, and he's able to go against the Magic later on tonight. But other than that, I think they're in a very good position to at least double their win total like we talked about.
Yeah, I think it's important that even as the season progresses and they get more wins, they get closer to that doubling the win total, they continue to hover just below 500. It's continue to temper expectations. I don't think you're going to find the Pistons, as necessarily heavy buyers at the trade deadline. I don't think you're going to find them in a situation where they're looking to surge late to make something special happen. I think this is just a season of growth, and so far they've shown that. They've taken their lumps, certainly haven't won every game that they're supposed to win, but still trending in the right direction. I think that's really all you can ask for out of the franchise at this time. Guess we'll take an early break and get into picks a little bit sooner. We'll do that and get caught up on the standings after a big, busy weekend last week. Did not go exactly how we planned. We'll get into that next here on Mitten Madness, 95.3 WBCK.
It's your last 95.3 WBCK.
Back here on Mitten Madness, 95.3 WBCK. Jacob Harrison and Da'Jzon Hughes. It's time to rank our picks, and we've got a little bit extra time to do that. And, it might need it because last week, 8 games, and I don't think it went particularly well, especially not some of the marquee matchups, but maybe that's just me. Update us on the standings. Let me shed some light on this.
We did a lot better than you thought, man.
Yeah?
We went 5-3.
Both of us?
We split our split games. You got one, I got one, and then we both lost the Tyson fight.
Everybody lost the Tyson fight.
And then there was one more we lost. We both lost K-State as well.
Yeah.
So, we did fine, 5-3, which has me at 44-30. You at 42-32.
Yeah, can't gain ground when we're splitting the split games. Don't know how different we're going to be this week. Seems pretty straightforward in some situations, but nonetheless, 6 games. Let's pick them, starting with Army and Notre Dame. This one is technically a home game for Notre Dame, but it's going to be at Yankee Stadium. You think Notre Dame's going to bust out the pinstripes? I hope not. Nonetheless, these two Golden Dome teams are going to take on, with playoff implications, heavy, especially for Army. If they can pass this test, they're well on their way to being a representative in the college football playoff, and that would also likely knock Notre Dame completely out of this. On the other hand, Notre Dame probably solidifies themselves as a playoff team, and Army would need a ton of help to get back in as a conference champion with the 5th seed. Notre Dame is a 17-point favorite, and they handled Navy early in the season. DJ, who you got? Knights or Irish?
I am going to do the thing that I think is right here. Notre Dame has been playing very good football since they lost to NIU. They had a very embarrassing 16-14 loss to NIU, and ever since then they have blown the doors off absolutely everybody they've come across. I do think Army will put up a fight, at least in the first quarter, first half, and then I think Notre Dame kind of runs away with this one. Maybe they hit that 14-point spread, but I do think Notre Dame will come out on top.
Yeah, I know I made the mistake. I chose Navy last time, and I'm an Army guy over Navy, but I'm not going to make the mistake again. Notre Dame proved they can handle this type of offense, and as you said, they have blown the doors off of everybody, and everybody they've played has not necessarily been good, but Army's still on a talent level, probably pretty close to the teams that they have played in recent weeks, or at least over the course of the season since the loss to NIU. Like you said, I'm going to do the smart thing here and just stick with Notre Dame.
That is a smart decision. I think CJ will be very proud of you.
Yeah.
So that takes us to another college game happening this weekend. BYU going on the road in the Big 12 to take on the Arizona State Sun Devils, who are coming off a huge victory over Kansas State to keep their Big 12 championship playoff hopes alive, or Big 12 championship game hopes alive. BYU trying to do the same after dropping a game as well. They're 9-1 on the year, 6-1 on the conference, 14th overall in the country. 21 for Arizona. They're 8-2, 5-2 in the conference. Arizona State is a 3-point favorite in this game and have a 55.7% chance to win. Will they come out of Mountain America Stadium partying on their home campus, or will BYU have a great ride home?
I'm going to tell you what, I'm making this pick not from a place of intelligence, but from a place of I want to watch BYU and Colorado in the Big 12 championship. That's what I want. I don't want Arizona State. Look, hats off to Arizona State. Okay. Sam Leavitt's great quarterback. And you know what? First year in the Big 12, they're competing. And I respect that. However, Arizona State isn't making any noise in those college football playoffs if they somehow find a way to win the Big 12. BYU, Colorado, a little bit more potential there, especially Colorado. I would love to see that matchup, and I think BYU understands what they're in for now. They cannot afford another loss. Arizona State's already been there and done that and lost to worse teams. BYU gets back on track on the road against the Sun Devils.
I think I agree with you. I think it's really hard to play a team like BYU, who has been very good this year. They're going to be the first team to play them after a loss. It's tough to play a good team after they lose, and they know that they shouldn't have lost, and they know what another loss does for them. BYU knows it can't take another loss. It makes what they're trying to do this year so much harder. They got to stay a one-loss team at the moment. If they can get to the conference championship game with one loss, they're probably in the playoffs regardless of if they win or lose that championship game. You got to get there with one loss, which means you got to beat Arizona State first. I'm going to take BYU.
No jokes about me picking Mormons over Devils, right? Moving on, Ohio State and Indiana are set to do battle. This is the biggest game in the Big Ten this season, and outside of Ohio State, Oregon, this one has such huge ramifications. We don't know if Indiana is that team, and this is the only kind of test you got to pass in order to prove that you are, in fact, that team. Indiana 10-0 for the first program history heads into what they used to call the Horseshoe, Ohio Stadium, where the Buckeyes await. And the Buckeyes have looked fantastic since that 1-point loss to Oregon. Indiana has run roughshod over everybody. They passed the test last week against Michigan. Here's the funny thing. Indiana's 2 signature wins on the season are beating the 2 teams that played in the national championship last year, but neither of those wins stack up because neither of those teams are quite as good as they were last year, or not nearly as good as they were last year. Ohio State is, though, and the Buckeyes are 11-point favorites after opening at 11.5, 73.4% chance of victory. A lot of people think Ohio State will win. It's just a matter of how close can Indiana keep it. What's your perspective, DJ? Who you got? Hoosiers, Buckeyes?
Let me just say I'm the biggest Indiana fan this weekend. I am. I want to see the Hoosiers do well.
I think Joanne might have you beat.
I mean, yeah, she definitely got me beat, but my frat was founded at Indiana. They're playing very good football, and I hate Ohio State. So as much as I would love to choose Indiana, I can't. Ohio State's most likely going to win this game, but what I do pray for is that Ohio State or Indiana comes out and gives them a game and keeps this within 2 touchdowns. I don't think you can take an 11-1 Indiana out of the playoff if their only loss is to the number 2 team in the country by 10 or less points. That, I think, is what we're really watching here is can Indiana keep it close? But I do have Ohio State coming out on top.
Yeah, I think if Indiana covers the spread, they're in. If they don't, they're out. I think it's really that simple. And I don't think it's fair. I just think that's the way it is. And I think Ohio State will win the game. Too much firepower. They are broken. Like, it is unfair. But I do think Indiana will cover. I do think Indiana's a playoff team.
I love that. I'm here for it. Go Hoosiers. Which will take us now over to the NFL. We're doing some more gridiron work, just not in the college realm anymore. The Cardinals.
Yep.
are taking on the Seahawks.
That team.
The Cardinals did open this game as 1.5-point underdogs. They are now 1.5-point favorites. They're 6-4 on the year, 2-2 on the road. Seahawks are 5-5 on the year, 2-4 on at home. Obviously, Geno Smith 11 for 11 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, compared to Kyler Murray's 12 TDs to 3 interceptions. James Conner has been great on the ground for almost 700 yards, 5 TDs, and Kenneth Walker almost 500 yards, 7 TDs with significantly less carries after some injuries. Can the Cardinals continue to make a way for themselves to be at the top of this weird NFC West come the end of the season, or will the Seahawks try and make that midseason push like we've seen them do the last couple of years to be competitive?
Listen, Kyler Murray is having a sneaky, like, sub MVP type season. Like, he's probably like number 6 or 7 if you head to the odds right now. Over 2,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, I think 3 or 4 on the ground, just 3 picks. And look, this caught me by surprise just heading into, the matchup screen on ESPN. The Cardinals are on a 4-game winning streak that started with a win over the Chargers, who were 7-3. Miami, they had Tua back when they beat him. Chicago, they were down a little bit, and the Jets were down a little bit when they played him. Whereas the Seahawks, they got that win over San Francisco, and that is about it. They have struggled. I really enjoy watching both of these teams, especially with their quarterbacks. They're both quarterbacks that I'd like to see be successful in this league. But I think Kyler Murray is starting to hit a stride. I think the Cardinals are starting to hit a stride. So I'm going to stick with the guys in the desert to go up to Seattle and pull out a win in the Loud House.
Yeah, I really like the Cardinals right now. You look at their last 5. They do have an embarrassing loss to Green Bay. But Green Bay was playing well and had Jordan Love at that time. So that kind of makes sense. They get a 2-point loss to the Chargers, who are actually playing really good football right now. We'll talk about them in a little bit. They have, a 2-point win. They have a 2-point win over Miami, or a 1-point win over Miami. They blew the doors off Chicago not too long ago. And then they handled the Jets as well handily. I like the momentum they're on. They're on a 4-game win streak, and you expect me to believe the Seattle Seahawks are going to be the one to take them down? Not that Lumen Field won't be popping, and not that they won't have the energy. I just got to lean on the side of caution, and that's the Cardinals taking another win.
That would be a huge boost for them in the NFC West, which is wide open. Harbaugh Bowl, Monday Night Football. ESPN loves to sell that. The Baltimore Ravens are headed out to L.A. to take on Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. This is a fantastic Monday Night Football. This is the type of Monday Night Football you grew up on. Derrick Henry versus J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins, former Ravens running back. Justin Herbert, who has had a career renaissance with Jim Harbaugh. Not that he was ever bad. Just 13 touchdowns to 1 pick is silly. Lamar Jackson having an MVP type season, and he's already had 2, and this one might just be better. The Ravens looking to come off of that disappointing loss to Pittsburgh, where they lost despite never relinquishing a touchdown, showing that their defense is improved. Chargers were able to last pick up a win over the Bengals after beating up on the Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns, and New Orleans Saints, who are all pretty bad teams. DJ, who walks out of Monday Night Football with the winner of the 3rd ever Harbaugh Bowl?
Gonna have to go Chargers. And it's about something that we talked about off pod before recording. John Harbaugh is not the best coach sometimes, and they have lost games over the last couple years due to late game play calling and decision making from the sidelines. Lamar Jackson has made some questionable decisions in some late games as far as on-field play and what he decides to do there. You know who's really good at coaching? Jim Harbaugh.
Both Harbaughs.
Yes, but Jim seems to be pretty good at this. This Chargers team wasn't 7-3 good last year. They show enough that it's 7-3 good right now. He got Justin Herbert playing like everybody thought he should have been playing. And I am still a little heartbroken and would love to have him coaching a team that I support, but I'll support him in this notion and believing that he is better than his brother, and Jim Harbaugh will come out on top along with the Chargers.
All that's all well and good, DJ, but the Harbaugh Bowl has been played twice before, and John Harbaugh won both of those matchups. And I look at the Ravens. If their defense plays the way they did against the Steelers, the Ravens are right back in Super Bowl conversations. Like they're dangerous if their defense is bad, because it's been tough most of the season. The Chargers have a great defense. They constantly deal with the same type of injuries, though, and that's what kind of holds them back. Offensive production is much lower with Harbaugh, with Jim in charge of it, though it's more consistent and it leads to wins. I'm sticking with John. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. I think they have the gumption to walk in and win this game and get a much needed win in the AFC race to the playoffs. We
need at least one swing game this week, so there it goes.
What better one than the Harbaugh Bowl?
Right? Last one of the week, the 9-9-3 Boston Bruins, who are 3-5-1 on the road, will head into Little Caesars Arena to take on the 8-9-2, 4-4-1 at home Detroit Red Wings, 7 p.m. tonight. Who do you got coming out on top? Will the Red Wings can push themselves to 500? Or will Boston get the best of them again?
I mean, both of these teams picked up wins 2 nights ago after coming off of 3-game losing streaks in which they were able to pick up an extra overtime loss. But Detroit was on the road for all 3 of those games. Now they're back home. They can get comfortable a little bit and take on Boston. Boston not the team they were last year to get started. So I'm going to do the homer thing, and I'm going to take the Red Wings to get the win at home to get back to 500.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Red Wings here as well. The big thing for me is that Swayman has been playing most of the games in net for Boston. He's 5-7-2 on the year, and he's giving up 3.47 goals a game on 88.4 save percentage, which both Cam Talbot and Alex Lyon are outperforming him in goal. So as long as Swayman's in net, which he may or may not be, I like the Red Wings' chances. So that gives us one swing game on the week. We both got Notre Dame, Ohio State, BYU, the Red Wings, and the Cardinals. You got the Ravens, and I've got the Chargers. Send us into the weekend.
All right, that's going to do it for us today, and we'll get you out of here. The Michigan Wolverines set to take on Northwestern later today on 95.3 WBCK, and you can get the pregame activity started at about 2:30 p.m. with the Michigan Sports Network. We'll also have the Sunday night matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams as Matthew Stafford hosts Justin Hurts in a battle for NFC supremacy. Rams do need some help to solidify their positioning in the NFC playoff race. Other programming note is something we missed earlier this week, but we've got corrected for this coming week, is that the Michigan Inside Michigan Football Show, the coaches show with Coach Sharon Moore, is not on Monday. It is on Tuesday. Tuesday at 7 p.m. That's when you'll catch what I believe to be the last Inside Michigan Football Show of the 2024 season. All right. That's all the programming notes. We'll see you guys again next week for more of Mitten Madness as we break down everything that happened on Thanksgiving and get ready for another exciting weekend of sports in the Mitten State. We'll see you guys next week, Saturday, 10 a.m. on 95.3 WBCK.
Join Jacob Harrison and Da'Jzon Hughes every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for Mitten Madness on 95.3 WBCK. Miss the show or want to run it back? Stream Mitten Madness on demand on the WBCK app. Sponsored by airwaycashforjunkcars.com.